So Ireland did it again. It's twice. Beat New Zealand. This one, 16 points to 9 over the All Blacks. Another historic victory. First time to get that win over in Ireland itself. Following up on that win in Chicago a couple of years ago. So yeah, a match that was billed as deciding who gets to be the best in the world by at least Steve Hansen. Goes the Irish way. Forgive me if this review is a little bit late. I saw the first half live, and then children's pre-scheduled swimming lessons had to be attended. So I was incommunicado. I could feel my phone vibrating with Twitter messages, and I was taking that to be an ominous sign. And yeah, proved to be. But let's not get away from that. So I managed to not know the result going into the second half. Came home, watched it straight away. Dad of the year for delaying watching this game. Surely, Dad of the year. Come on, people. But yeah, Ireland just too good. Started off with a penalty. I mean, New Zealand had a little bit of ball early on in that first half, attacking, and then the Irish got a turnover, and then that was pretty much it for the first half in terms of the All Blacks attack. The Irish were just all over everything. Sexton got a penalty. Bodie got a penalty to even it up. Carney had a TMO try decision ruled out for a knock-on. I thought it was a knock-on as well, so kind of all fine and dandy there. But followed up with a penalty to make it 6-3. Beauden Barrett does another drop goal. And it's kind of looking a bit like the England game from last week, where the All Blacks are a bit under the pump, but still able to score by whatever means necessary. They had advantage. So, yeah, All Blacks still retaining that kind of cool head at key moments to keep in touch. All Blacks, another penalty. Another penalty, I say another. They had a lot of penalties early on. At half-time, the penalty count was 9-2, which is getting pretty bad. And I was kind of surprised that the warning for the penalties didn't come earlier, but it finally came. And then Ireland kicked another penalty. New Zealand commentators and myself thought, perhaps, separately, of course, separate thoughts. I'm not on the same team as those guys. Same thoughts that maybe this is the right time to press home the advantage, because Ireland had turned down 3 points prior to that, and it kind of looked like, well, New Zealand are on a warning. The scrum is dominant from the Irish side. Why not go for another scrum? But they had a penalty straight up front, so they kicked that. Go into halftime, 9 points to 6. As an All Black fan, I'm pretty happy to be down by only 3 at halftime, because it was a lot of tackles being made by the All Blacks. I mean, statistically, according to ESPN, halftime run meters Ireland 191 to the All Blacks 78. Possession and territory 63-37. Tackling percentage Ireland 93, New Zealand 89, which is just high, but they were making a lot. As I said, penalties conceded 9 to the All Blacks, 2 to the Irish. So yeah, those were really costly, and some of them were just dumb. Like, I know you're under pressure, and sometimes when you're giving away like one mistake, you maybe try to do something to make up for it, but then it just makes it worse. There was a little bit of that going on. So the All Blacks under the pump, and just sometimes making poor decisions. I think there was was it one by Retallick or Whitelock where he just kind of flicked his hand up in an offside position. It was like, what are you doing? Just silly stuff that you wouldn't expect from the number one team in the world. Liam Squire went off for the All Blacks, which wasn't ideal. He went off after around half an hour. A couple of guys took knocks. Like Reid looked a bit sore for a wee bit. Sore bodies is the story of this game as well. O'Mahony, what a bloke. He looked pretty sore at times as well. As I said, the Irish scrum was on top. Tuina Koafe, who has looked like quite the scrummager throughout this New Zealand season since he's really come onto the scene was really under the pump by Tyke Furlong. I suppose he kind of got better as the game went on, but by the time he went off in the second half, he looked absolutely knackered. And there was a scrum right before halftime when he kind of got popped up as well. So yeah, it wasn't going that well for the All Blacks in that first half. Second half doesn't take the Irish too long to finally register the first and only try. Stockdale, who was really sharp as well, he got a good try, a little chip over, took it well, momentum and strength got him over the line with Smith and was it McKenzie or Barrett covering? 16 points to 6. Bodie kicks a penalty later on in the 67th minute at the only kind of point in the match where the All Blacks looked on top. They had like a window of like 15 minutes from like 60 something where they really started taking the game to the Irish, and it's kind of what you expect as a New Zealand fan. Even when the All Blacks are under the pump, you're like, alright, after the hour mark, subs are going to come on, and the subs did come on pretty early for the All Blacks, a lot of them. Front row got changed pretty early. Mo'unga came on pretty early, so yeah, there were some big changes. And the All Blacks started to get momentum, and some of the key Irish guys started coming off. Mahoney went off, the front row went off, Tona went off, especially key guy at line-out time. So it started to look like, yep, script's going to be followed, and the All Blacks going to make a comeback. All Blacks have the Irish under the pump for a wee bit, and Reid's decision is to take a penalty. I feel like traditionally the All Blacks go for the try, because 2 tries and you get a win. A penalty only sets you up for a potential draw. It's still 2 scores to win. But I guess in that situation, being as competitive as it was, or under as much pressure as they were, Reid goes for the kick. Bowden gets it. 16 points to 9. That is the way it stays. I mean, there were some key moments, missed opportunities. And if you're looking at it from an All Blacks point of view, there's that moment where there's a charge down. Kieran Reid tries to grab it, and he's got Goodhue there. Nobody's there to stop them, but he just knocks it on. There's a key like desperation play from O'Mahony when there's a ball going through, chip through, and somehow he's the first man to get to it. His arms just stretch out. I think it's Ben Smith who's about to run onto it, and the look of his face is just like, no, it's mine, it's try time. Nah, man, desperation stuff. Relentless at times from the Irish. What can I say, man? It's hard for me to kind of... I mean, this is the second time. I'm used to this in Super Rugby as a Blues fan, to be sitting here as a guy whose team's just been pretty well beaten. But as an All Blacks guy, it doesn't happen that often. It's happened twice now these few months with South Africa doing it. At least in the South Africa game, the All Blacks had better stats. I mean, this one, they did manage to even it up, to be fair. Run meters kind of were pretty even at the end, so was possession and territory. Tackling percentages were pretty much exactly the same, and even the number of tackles evened out in that second half. Lineouts were operating at a similar percentage. Penalties conceded still remained pretty lopsided, although it finished at 11-5, so not too many conceded in that second half. Yeah, man. The All Blacks look mortal, that's for sure. I mean, they've just got beaten by a better Irish team. I know there was a lot of talk from some commenters going into this game. When they beat us in Chicago, we didn't have Retallick. That was in Chicago, so the All Blacks were not taking it seriously because of the Chicago Cubs thing. Well, those excuses are pretty much gone, because Retallick was the man who dropped the ball at the end. Not saying he had a bad game, though, because, I mean, he had some key steals at line-out time. When Tona went off, the All Blacks did manage to start to put some pressure on with the line-out. But, yeah. That was a tough result for the All Blacks, man, because I'm not saying tough as in they were unlucky, but tough as in they were under the pump, as I've said multiple times in this video. Yeah, not many sides hold New Zealand to no tries. Not many results do you almost see a smile from Peter O'Mahony, At the interview at the end when he got man of the match, it was like the corner of his lips just creaked a little bit. That facade just slightly cracked. I feel like the dude's probably a wee bit happy if such a thing happens with him. But he doesn't show much emotion, but I think he's pretty chuffed. As well he should be, man, because, yeah, big result. 16-9. Didn't need Conor Murray to do it either. I mean, if New Zealand had won, Irish fans could have said, well, we didn't have Conor Murray, so yada, yada, yada. Yeah, man. Even without Conor Murray, one of the best number 9s in the world, well, still managed to get it done pretty handedly. Yeah, I think the New Zealand commentator thought maybe Marmion was French because he kept saying Marmion or something like that. It was pretty interesting, if nothing else. I did have the Irish feed in the second half, so that was kind of good. I got the All Blacks feed, the New Zealand feed in the first half, and the Irish feed in the second half, so it was a bit of a bit of a mix. But yeah, Mahoney was huge. I thought Savia looked pretty good for the All Blacks. Some of the All Blacks guys weren't sharp. Reid made more mistakes than he's normally like to. Multiple guys, like silly, as I said, silly penalties, handling errors. And the Irish guys, Carney came back, thought he might be a bit rusty, but he looked pretty good. Challenged for the high balls pretty well. Put some of that kicking. Some of the New Zealand kicking was aimless, and that Irish kicking, when they would put up the up and under, it was just like a meter from the 22. No chance of calling a mark. It was just like pinpoint accurate. So that's the story of this game, man. Accuracy, relentless pressure, got the job done. I am still a wee bit in shock. I was crook a little bit the day before, so I'm still recovering. This probably doesn't help my recovery. I'm going to go and watch Argentina and France because I have not seen that game yet, even though it's finished, but I haven't seen it. I don't know the results, so I'm going to go watch that and try to recover because this was pretty massive. I'm still a wee bit in shock. Not in any kind of like, oh, I was so sure we were going to win way, but just because, man, no tries for the All Blacks. I know they were outscored by England in tries last week, and they've kind of, yeah, they didn't dominate South Africa in that game. That's what I'm trying to say. The All Blacks looking mortal. I think I didn't finish that point earlier. As I said, still a wee bit of shock. I'll finish it up. I'll wrap it up. It's getting on too long. Wow, 12 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Got beaten in Wellington. Struggled in was it Cape Town? Was it Cape Town? The second game in South Africa. Was it Pretoria? Memory. So, yeah, All Blacks have struggled twice against South Africa. Struggled against England and now been beaten by Ireland. Sorry, beaten once by South Africa. So, yeah, very much looking mortal. I've just heard on Talkback Radio, which always goes bananas when the All Blacks lose, Hansen should go and Kieran's too old to be, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it's all quite that doom and gloom yet. But All Blacks definitely looking, as I said, mortal, and the Irish looking pretty impressive. Yeah, best team in the world. Maybe. We'll see how the rankings look after the Six Nations, because they'll have a chance to pick up some points as well, as the All Blacks guys won't be playing in their off-season. But yes, 13 minutes. Time to wrap this up. You guys let me know your thoughts on this game. Pretty massive result. Sorry this is a bit incoherent. Still recovering from a bit of a bug and the result of that game. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.